Hey coders, welcome back. So now we are going to start working on our contact us section. This contains two parts, or two children. One contains a map and other one contains the contact form. I've just noticed that the map is not centrally aligned with respect to the horizontal axis, and maybe we should make this contact form vertically aligned as well. So keeping these two modifications in mind, let's think about how to go about defining the HTML for this section. So as usual, we are going to define a main container in our section, which will contain these two divs as its children. So this div will contain again two children, a h2 for this heading and the map. And likewise, this div will also contain two children, this h2 heading and this contact us form. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is our index.html and our section is currently empty. Let's define a container. Now first div, let's give it the name map div, and this div is going to contain a h2. Let's say where to find us. Then we need a map. So to get the map, let's go to Google Maps. Okay, so let's click on Google Maps and over here let's search Victoria Station, London. Okay, so this is our station. Now let's click on this share and then you see this embed a map. Click on it and now you can see over here it says iframe and over here at the right corner it says copy HTML. So copy it by clicking it and over here paste it. So this is our iframe with certain properties. Two of these properties is height and width. So we are basically going to delete this height and width so that we can make it responsive. Otherwise this height and width is going, where is it? Otherwise this height and width will be fixed and it won't be responsive. So let's delete. Okay. So we are done with the first child. Now let's move on to the second child. Since the section name is contact, so we are making this one contact div. Again, this contains first child, which is h2, and contact us is the heading. Then we need a form. So let's give it the class name form dot contact form. So we have a form with the class name contact form. Okay, so now this contact form contains two input elements for the name and the email. The second one is a text area for the actual message that anyone who is trying to contact with the real estate owners, they can write their message in it and then submit button. So input, we need input of type text. Name, let's give it name and ID name as well. Let's create a placeholder as well. Now copy paste this one. Input type text, name, let's change it to email. So let's change the type from text to email as well. ID is also email and over here email. Okay. Then we need text area. Okay, for the name, let's give it message and ID message as well. Then input of type button, value is send message. Okay, that's it. Have a peek. So this is our project. Let's click on the contact us. Okay, so this is how it currently looks. Now the first thing that we are going to do is that we are going to give this section a background image. Then we will start styling these two children. So let's go to our style.css file and over here before the media queries, let's start contact us section begins. Okay, so before we define any properties, since they are going to be almost they are going to be similar to the rest of the sections. So let's go and have a look at this about, this one, about. Let's copy this whole thing. Because it has a background property, then display is flex so that the contents come in the center. Justify content and align item center as well. So we are going to need these. paste it over here and change the name from about to contact. Remember, the contact is the class name for the section. Now we have to change the background image. I think it's just Real Estate Pro. Let me have a peek. CONTACT. Okay. Yeah. So this is the background image. Now we have to define some properties for the parent of these two elements, map div and the contact div. So contact and then container is the class name given to the parent of these two children. Okay. Let's first of all set display flex because we want the children to be in the center. Justify content center and align item center as well. This will not have any visual difference in the browser. However, with respect to this section, this container is in the center, horizontally as well as vertically. We will come back and add some more properties to this container when we find the need. For the time being, we don't find any need, so let's move on to the children. So contact container, or let's make it direct map div, and the other one was contact div. Okay, now since these two are the children of this container, we can put some gap between these two. So gap is 2 rem. Now let's move on to the common properties for map div and contact div. So again, we have to, let's copy paste these properties. So both are going to be display flex, justify content center and align item center, because both of these divs have two children, h2, and first one contains map and the second one contains the form. But in this case, we have to set the flex direction to column. Okay. Now, in order to see how much space is currently being occupied by these two, we are going to give it Glassmorphism effect. So for that, let's copy these two properties and paste it over here. And let's give some border radius 0.5 rem. Okay. Okay, so this is how currently they look. I have given flex direction column, have I not? Okay, it was supposed to be flex direction column. Okay, that's good. Now in order to keep these two elements symmetrical, we have to give same amount of height and width to both of these children. And then we have to make sure this map occupies almost same dimensions with respect to width and height that our contact form, this form occupies. So this way both of them will look symmetrical. Okay, so first of all, to both of these divs, the width is going to be the 50% of the parent for both of them. So this is the container, whatever is the width. So we have to give it fixed width and height. So what we are going to do is that for the container, the width is going to be 85% and height as well. 85%. So reason we are giving it 85 width and height because we want to see the background image as well. Otherwise, everything will be covered by these two divs, map div and contact div. So we want to be able to appreciate the Glassmorphism effect. For that, we need to be able to see the clear background as well as the tinted glass effect as well. So 85%. This will enable us to see the background image as well. Now for the map div and contact div, out of this width of 85%, 50% is going to the first child and 50 is going to the second child. Now as far as the height is concerned, so we have to make sure the height is more explicit. Otherwise, when we divide this height to the subchildren of this contact form, which contains input elements, that might not work. So let's make it 85% viewport height. And while we are at it, we can do the same for the width as well. There is no harm in making it viewport width as well. Okay. So out of this 85% of viewport width, 50 has gone to the map div and 50 has gone to the contact div. Now for the height, again, height is going to be 100% for both the children. Okay. So now we have to work on the iframe. Sorry, both of them have H2s. Okay, so for the H2s, let's copy and paste it. MapDiv has H2 and ContactDiv also have H2. We have already put gap, so we don't need to define padding. We have to decrease the font size. So font size, let's make it 2.5 rem. So far, we don't need to make any more changes. We'll have a peek in the browser, and then if we find the need to make changes, we will define further properties. Okay, now for the iframe and the contact form. So let's start with the iframe. Okay, so map and mapdiv, then we have iframe. As far as the width is concerned, let's make it 80%. And for the height, so 80% of the parent, which is this H2, which gets 50%, and 50% of 85% viewport width. So that's what it is. Now for the height, let's make it 90% and see if there is any effect. Okay, so this is how it looks. We don't want this much, so height, let's decrease the height to 80. I think we should decrease the height a bit more and width as well. Okay, so width, let's make it 70 is fine. 70 and height 70 as well. Maybe 75 width. Yeah, I think that's better. Now we need to give padding to the parent. So the parent is this map div, but we need similar padding for our contact div as well. So let's define padding all around 2 rem. Okay, so there is all around padding of 2 rem for both of these. Now let's work on this contact form. We have to give this contact form same width and height as this iframe. Okay, so map div iframe, then contact div, and the name of the class for the form is contact form. So now both iframe and contact form have same width, 80% and 90% height. Okay, but we have to work on these input elements. So now we have to only work on contact form. So copy, paste. Let's say display flex. Flex direction is going to be column because we have lots of input elements and we want all of them in their respective rows. So flex direction column, justify content center, align items center, and we need some gap between these input elements. So gap is going to be 1.5 rem. Okay, so this is how they look. Now we have to increase the height of these input elements, and we have to make sure this one, because this is text area, this should occupy more height. Okay, so first of all, contact form, and then we are interested in all the elements of this contact form. So we are saying immediate children of contact form. Height, let's make it, what shall we define the height? So out of this parent height, 90%, let's give it 5% for each of the children. Maybe we should increase height a bit more. Let's make it 8%. Okay, that's better. We have to make sure it occupies 100% of the width of its parent. So parent is this contact form. Width is going to be 100% of the contact form. Okay, that's better. Now we have to increase the height of this text area. So contact form text area, the height, let's give it, so 24 is occupied by 3 input elements. The rest, what's the rest? Almost 75%. So 75% we are going to reserve height. 75% is reserved for the text area. It's contact form. Yeah, I think that's better. Now we have to define certain properties for all of these input elements. So basically we are going to copy some properties, these properties, and apply it to the input elements. So let's go up and look for the button. Okay, so this is the properties of the button, and this is hover property. So we are going to need almost all of them. So let me copy the button properties as well as the hover properties for the button. Let's go down. Okay. Paste it, and I'm going to comment it out for the time being. Okay, now what properties do we... Okay, so this color and this color, background color and the text color, this one will be applied to the submit button. The padding for all the input areas will be fine. Border radius, border none, outline none, font size 1.6 rem fine. Box shadow, cursor, this one will also be applied only to the submit button. Margin 1 rem. Margin, do we need margin? We don't need margin because we have already defined what have we defined? We have defined the gap between these input elements. So these properties, these are common for all the input elements. So copy this and paste it over here with this asterisk because these properties apply to all the input elements. Okay, that's better. Now we have to give it color. So what we are gonna do is that contact form input of type is going to be submit or button. What is it? Button. Okay. Button. Now we are gonna bring back these three properties: background color, cursor pointer, and the color. Copy, paste. Now we have to define hover property. So copy this part, paste it, attach hover with it. Now let's bring back this hover to our input type of type button. Okay, good. I think we did decrease the font size, didn't we? The font size for the H2. Why hasn't it taken effect? Font size, map div, contact div, and 2 rem. Why? No, it's not taking effect. I wonder why. Oh, okay. I have written font weight. I was supposed to say font size. So let's go back to font size 2.5 and see the effect. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, I don't think we need to do any more changes. Now let's see how does it look responsively. So for the 1200 screen sizes, it should look almost the same. For the screen size is smaller than 1200, which is 768 and smaller, because the screen size gets smaller. So we want this map to come first and this contact form to come later, one after the other. So in a flex we have to set the flex direction column for the parent, which is the container. But first let's have a peek. Yeah, see how horrible it looks. So 1200. Okay, so for the 1200 I think it's absolutely fine. However, for the 768, okay, so for the 768, we want this map to occupy the whole width of this screen, and this form should come later on. So we want to set the display property, we want to set the flex direction property to column for the parent of these two children, which is the container. Then we will increase the width of these children from 50% to 100%. Probably these are the only two changes that we need to make. So okay, so let's copy this contact container and the two children, map div and contact div. So copy. Let's go down to the very end of 768. This is 768. Let's go to the very end. Okay, over here, paste them back. Now let's start with the contact container. It's already display flag, so we don't need it. Justify and align We are not making any changes. Cape is fine, to rem is just fine. Height is, again, we don't need any of these properties. Okay, so the only thing that we need to do is we have to set flex direction to column. And for these divs, we have set the width. Basically, we have to go up. Now, we don't need to make any changes over here, I think. The only thing that we have to do is that we have to set the width from 50% to, let's make it 80%, because we want some space in the corner so that we can see the background image as well. Okay, so as per our calculations, this first child should have occupied the most of the space over here with respect to the height, but that hasn't happened. So we have to figure out why that is the case. Okay, so if we go up to our global properties, so if you remember the sections, let's go to the sections over here. Where is it? Okay, so the section has minimum height of 100 viewport defined. So that means we are giving this section the cushion to grow if there are more contents, and it has been happening when we had cars to display. So like for the featured properties. So in the featured properties, we were able to let the section grow. Let's say featured over here. So you can see the section is growing bigger than the viewport height. So why isn't happening for the contact us section? So the reason is, so after the section, let's go back to the contact us. Okay, so this is contact. Now if you notice for the container, we are giving it fixed height, 70 viewport height. Even though the section itself can grow bigger, but the container cannot. The container is at most 70 viewport height. So because this height is fixed, and even if we give 100% height to its children, so that 100% will be actually the 70 viewport height. And because this height is fixed, both of these elements are tried to fit into a single area, that is single viewport screen. So we have to let the container grow as well. So let's go back to 768. Okay, over here. So I have deleted the commented out properties. Okay. So now for the contact container, the flex direction is column, and for the map div and contact div, width is 100%. But over here, we are going to say height, we are going to set it to auto. That is, let the height grow with respect to the contents. Okay, now over here, for each div, the map div and the contact div, we are going to set the height to be, let's say, 70% of the viewport height. Now, because this height, the container height is auto, so it will help the container grow bigger, because 70 viewport height plus 70 viewport height is 140 viewport height. So it's bigger than the screen size. Okay, so this is how it has turned out to be, and I think this is better. We don't need to make any changes. This is 70 viewport height is occupied for one div, and the rest of the 70 viewport height is occupied by the second div. Now let's check 480. Okay, 480, we need to increase the width, and probably we should decrease the height. So copy this, and let's go to 480, paste it over here, make the width 100%, and height, let's make it 55, viewport height, or 60. Yeah, I think this is better. Okay, so one more time, this is 480, let's go back to 768, this is how it looks. Okay, now let's go to 1200. Okay, good. Now let's go to normal one. Good. So I think we are done with the contact us part as well. Now the only thing left is, on this page, our footer. So this footer has just this text, okay? Let me copy this part. Copy. Now let's go to index, and after the last section, let's put in footer, and this footer contains a paragraph and paste the text. However, we need to attach the copyright HTML entity. So ampersand copy semicolon. Okay, so there it is. Now we have to style it. Let's go to styles. Okay, now okay, so for the footer, let's give it width 100%. Height, let's make it 4 rem, and we want to give this background color to the footer. Then we want the paragraph in the center, so let's try a different approach to bringing the content in the center. Then display flex. Okay, so paragraph in the footer. For the footer, let's set text align center, and for the paragraph, let's change the color to white. Let's have a font size. Font size, let's make it 1.8 rem. Okay, so this is how it looks. Now we have to bring this text in the center vertically as well. So what we can do is that we know the height of the footer is 4 rem. We are going to assign same line height to our text as well. Okay, so it's in the center. I don't think we need to do any more changes. Let's check how does it look responsively. Okay, let's start with 1200. Okay, fine. Now let's start with 768. That's good. Then 480. Okay, that's fine. Now with this we are done with at least the front page. Now the only thing left is, let's go to the home. Okay, now the only thing left is, this is demo project, these two pages, the to rent and to buy. This we will continue in our next video, but we have already done most of the work for this page as well. For example, we have already defined these cards. The only thing that we have to actually work on is our search bar and this sort by form. So this we will continue in our next video. I hope you learned something from today's video. If you did like it, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe and share. Thank you so much.